He made America smile as Sheriff Andy Taylor on The Andy Griffith Show, but behind his kind face, things were not always peaceful on set. While Andy Griffith was known for his charm and laughter on screen, off camera he had real problems with some co-stars. There were disagreements, ego clashes, and even deep personal issues. Fans never expected that the man who played such a loving father figure could have serious conflicts. But in Hollywood, even the nicest faces hide drama. Get ready to uncover the 6 actors Andy Griffith secretly hated the most and the surprising reasons why. Before we dive into video, please subscribe our channel. Andy Griffith was one of the most beloved television stars in American history. With his calm voice, warm smile, and gentle presence, he became a symbol of kindness on The Andy Griffith Show. But Andy's real life was far more complex than the simple life of Mayberry. Behind the scenes, Andy struggled with anger, control issues, and personal demons that were hidden from his audience. Early in his career, Andy had big dreams, but also a short temper. He wanted things done his way. While filming, he often clashed with directors and producers if they did not agree with his vision. Even though he was the star, many said he could be difficult to work with. He was known to hold grudges and was not always the kind and friendly man people saw on screen. His personal life also had its dark sides. He had a troubled marriage and went through a painful divorce. Friends say that fame changed Andy, making him more demanding and controlling. He became more focused on perfection and less forgiving of mistakes, especially from the people he worked with. Many fans are surprised to learn that there were serious arguments on the set of The Andy Griffith Show. Some actors felt bullied, ignored, or even replaced. Although Andy had close friendships with a few cast members, others claimed he was cold and distant. His friendly image hid many behind-the-scenes tensions. While Andy Griffith will always be remembered as a TV legend, it is important to understand that he was also a man with flaws, strong opinions, and a temper that sometimes led to broken relationships. Now, let's look at the 6 actors he reportedly disliked the most, and the reasons those working relationships fell apart. Number 1. Jim Nabors. Jim Nabors brought endless laughter to The Andy Griffith Show as the lovable, goofy Gomer Pyle. His character quickly became a fan favorite, and his unique voice and innocent humor helped launch his own spin-off, Gomer Pyle, USMC. While audiences adored the duo's chemistry on screen, off-camera things were not always so simple. Behind their smiling faces was a silent tension that Andy Griffith reportedly kept buried for years. In the early days, Andy truly liked Jim. He personally discovered Nabors and gave him his big break. But as Gomer's popularity grew, so did Andy's discomfort. Andy was the star of the show, and he had worked hard to build his image as the calm and wise Sheriff Taylor. Suddenly, Gomer's goofy antics began stealing the spotlight and the audience's hearts. Many say Andy felt threatened, and that jealousy slowly grew behind the scenes. Sources from the set say Andy was very controlling and liked to be the center of attention. When Jim Nabors' fame began rising faster than expected, Andy started distancing himself. He reportedly did not appreciate how the focus was shifting away from him. Things became even more strained when Gomer Pyle, USMC, became a hit in its own right. Although Andy publicly congratulated Jim, insiders claim he was deeply bitter. What made things worse was the way Jim handled fame, with kindness, humility, and laughter. He never meant to outshine Andy, but the spotlight chose him. Andy, being a proud and sometimes insecure man, could not let go of the silent competition he felt. While they remained civil in public, the warmth between them faded over time. Jim moved on, and Andy never truly forgave the fact that his own creation, Gomer, had become a bigger star than he ever expected. Their relationship was never repaired. Andy Griffith may have helped make Jim Nabors a star, but behind the curtain, there was tension, jealousy, and a deep feeling of betrayal. What looked like a perfect friendship on television was, in reality, a quiet rivalry that left both men emotionally distant for years. Number 2. Frances Bavier. Frances Bavier, who played the sweet and caring Aunt Bee, was loved by millions of viewers. Her character was the heart of The Andy Griffith Show, offering warmth, advice, and homemade pies. But off-screen, her relationship with Andy Griffith was anything but warm. In fact, their behind-the-scenes tension became one of the show's most painful secrets. Frances was a classically trained actress who took her craft very seriously. She came from a theater background and believed in deep character work, rehearsals, and professional behavior on set. Andy, on the other hand, had a more relaxed and improvisational style. From the beginning, their working styles clashed. Frances often felt that Andy did not take her seriously, and she disliked how he joked around or changed scenes at the last minute. Multiple crew members have shared that Frances was often isolated on set. She did not get along with the rest of the cast and preferred to stay in her dressing room. Andy, who valued a fun and light atmosphere, reportedly grew frustrated with her. He saw her as difficult, moody, and overly serious, completely opposite to her cheerful screen character. Over time, their professional respect turned into mutual dislike. It is said that Andy rarely invited her to offset gatherings or group events. He even joked about her being grumpy during interviews, which only deepened the divide between them. Frances, in return, kept her distance always. See and avoided personal conversation with Andy whenever possible. Years later, near the end of her life, Frances reportedly called Andy to apologize for the way things had gone between them. It was an emotional call, but it showed how deeply their rocky relationship had affected her. Andy accepted the apology, but the scars of their tension remained. Their on-screen chemistry as Aunt Bee and Sheriff Taylor was undeniable, but behind the camera, they barely spoke. It is one of the saddest examples of how a beloved TV relationship was not built on friendship, but on professionalism alone. Frances Bavier may have been America's favorite aunt, but to Andy Griffith, she was a reminder that even the best shows can be filled with real-life pain. Number 3. Denver Pyle. Denver Pyle played the rugged, no-nonsense Briscoe Darling, the head of the musical Darling family on The Andy Griffith Show. His appearances were few but unforgettable. Briscoe was gruff, humorous, and unpredictable, bringing wild mountain charm to Mayberry. But behind his entertaining performances, Denver Pyle and Andy Griffith reportedly had a strained relationship that was never publicly acknowledged. Denver Pyle was an experienced actor with a strong personality. He had worked in westerns, war films, and dramas, and he brought a certain toughness and independence to every role. On set, he was known to speak his mind, and that did not sit well with Andy Griffith, who preferred to be in control of everything happening around him. Sources say Andy disliked actors who questioned his ideas or resisted his authority. Denver, being strong-willed, was not afraid to push back. He wanted his character to stay true to its roots and would often challenge script changes or creative decisions. While some actors gave in to Andy's direction, Denver stood his ground, creating quiet tension between them. Andy, known for Holden G. grudges, began limiting Denver's appearances on the show. Despite the popularity of the Darling family, Briscoe only showed up in a few episodes. Insiders believe Andy simply did not want to work with him more than necessary. The character was a hit with fans, but Andy's personal feelings often influenced casting decisions. Off camera, the two rarely interacted. Crew members noticed the awkwardness and lack of camaraderie between them. Denver eventually moved on to other successful roles, including his famous part as Uncle Jesse in The Dukes of Hazzard, but he never returned to Mayberry after the main series ended. In later interviews, Denver never openly criticized Andy, but his silence spoke volumes. He kept his distance from reunion specials and rarely reflected on his time on the show, suggesting that the experience was not as fondly remembered as fans might believe. The feud between Denver Pyle and Andy Griffith was never loud or explosive. Instead, it was a quiet battle of pride, ego, and creative control. In the end, two talented men simply could not find a way to work peacefully together. Number 4. George Lindsay. George Lindsay brought endless energy and laughter to Mayberry as Goober Pyle, the simple-minded but lovable mechanic. As the cousin of Gomer Pyle, Goober quickly became a regular after Jim Nabors left for his own spin-off. Fans loved Goober's goofy charm, but behind the scenes, Andy Griffith's relationship with George Lindsay took a darker turn over time. At first, Andy welcomed George warmly. He had just lost Jim Nabors to a new show and needed someone to fill the gap. George stepped in with enthusiasm and a heart full of gratitude. The early years were filled with laughs, but as time went on, things began to shift. Andy started pulling away. According to Lindsay's own memoir, he felt ignored, underappreciated, and sometimes disrespected by Andy. George always looked up to Andy and hoped to be included in his inner circle, but that never truly happened. Andy often made jokes at George's expense, on and off the set. While they may have seemed harmless, they hurt George deeply. He felt Andy never saw him as an equal, but more like a sidekick who was easy to mock. Things got worse when the Andy Griffith Show ended and turned into Mayberry RFD. George remained in the cast, but Andy had moved on and made no effort to bring George along. George felt abandoned by the man he once admired. The lack of communication and support left lasting wounds. In his later years, George Lindsay opened up about the emotional toll of working under someone who never fully accepted him. Although he stayed loyal to the Mayberry legacy and appeared at fan events, he reportedly carried quiet resentment toward Andy until the end of his life. They did appear together in reunion specials, but insiders say their interactions were polite, not warm. Andy reportedly never addressed their strained relationship publicly, choosing silence over resolution. George Lindsay gave his heart to the role of Goober Pyle, but off-screen, he was met with distance and disappointment. The cheerful mechanic who made millions smile was, in truth, a man left hurt by the cold shoulder of the show's beloved star. Number 5. Richard Krena. Before the Andy Griffith Show became a household name, Andy Griffith was carving out his place in the television world. Around the same time, Richard Krena had already made his mark as a talented actor with major roles in shows like Our Miss Brooks and later, The Real McCoys. While the two actors never shared the screen on the Andy Griffith Show, there was a well-known silent rivalry between them that lasted for years in the entertainment circles. Richard Krena was everything networks loved: smart, clean-cut, and versatile. He transitioned smoothly from radio to television and was known for his professionalism and strong work ethic. This early success made him a go-to choice for major network projects that Andy Griffith sometimes competed for. According to reports from the time, Andy felt overshadowed by Krena's early rise, especially when producers chose Richard for roles Andy had expressed interest in. While Andy eventually secured his iconic role as Sheriff Taylor, the earlier rejections stayed with him. He was known to carry grudges, and even long after becoming a TV star, he reportedly still spoke about how he was once passed over in favor of Krena. Friends close to Andy said that he considered Richard a symbol of the opportunities he almost had but lost. That quiet bitterness lingered even though their careers went in different directions. Richard Krena, for his part, was not known to speak badly of anyone in the industry. He carried himself with grace and rarely responded to behind-the-scenes gossip. But insiders say he was well aware of Andy's feelings. At one Hollywood event, the two reportedly crossed paths, and Andy gave him a cold nod before walking away, a moment that shocked those nearby. Though they were never direct enemies, the silent tension between Andy Griffith and Richard Krena remained a reminder of how competitive Hollywood could be. In an industry filled with smiles and handshakes, quiet rivalries often ran deep. Andy never publicly admitted to disliking Krena, but those close to him say it was clear. Richard represented the kind of early success Andy had fought hard to match and never forgot.